Last year, I pulled the transom out of a 7-year-old center console. 22-foot boat, mid-range brand. The kind of boat you'd see on any trailer at any ramp in Florida. The owner brought it in because his outboard was flexing at wide open throttle. Not a lot. Just enough to notice. When I cut into that transom, water poured out like I'd opened a faucet. The plywood inside had turned into something that looked like wet cardboard. This was a boat that retailed for $42,000, and the structural backbone behind the engine was an $81 sheet of lumber wrapped in fiberglass. I spent 3 weeks after that, pulling apart warranty documents, material spec sheets, and builder websites. What I found made me angry. Not because boat manufacturers are running some secret conspiracy to make your hull fall apart in 5 years. That's actually not what's happening. The truth is worse. They're saving $500 to $2,000 per boat on materials they know will fail, and they've built a warranty system designed to make sure it's your problem when it does. That center console with the rotted transom sitting in a repair bay. That repair bill came to $6,800. The composite board that would have prevented it cost $449 more than the plywood the manufacturer used. I want you to sit with that number for a second. $449 on a $42,000 boat. But the transom is just the beginning. And I personally think it's not even the most infuriating part of this story. Before we go any further, let me kill the conspiracy theory. Boats are not engineered to self-destruct on a 5-year timer. That claim has been floating around forums for years, and it doesn't hold up. Industry data shows average boat ownership runs 7 to 10 years, and the number one reason people sell is to upgrade to something bigger. Not because their hull cracked in half at the marina. Fiberglass hulls can last 30 to 50 years. Modern 4-stroke outboard engines run 2,000 to 3,000 hours before major service. Yamaha F-150S have been documented running 6,500 hours and still purring. Nobody at Mercury or Yamaha is sitting in a boardroom designing water pumps to grenade at hour 500. But here's what is happening inside a boat factory, and this is where I need you to pay attention. Because the decisions being made on the production floor directly determine whether your boat lasts 7 years or 25. It comes down to 5 parts of your boat where manufacturers are playing a material shell game, and every single one of them saves the factory less than you'd spend on a fish finder. Let's start with the one that costs the most to fix. The transom. On an outboard boat, the transom absorbs every pound of engine thrust, every trailer bounce, every vibration at wide open throttle. On the majority of boats in the $20,000 to $50,000 range, that transom is built around plywood. Not always marine-grade plywood either. Sometimes it's exterior-grade lumber with a coat of fiberglass over it. And every single bolt hole for that outboard, every transducer mount, every trim tab screw, punches a pathway for moisture to reach that wood. Dry wood never rots. That's the thing. The problem is keeping it dry when there are a dozen holes drilled through the fiberglass shell. And on budget boats, the limber holes between stringer bays aren't even sealed. Might as well install a garden hose. A composite alternative called Cusa board absorbs less than 1% water. It will never rot. A sheet costs $530. The marine plywood it replaces costs $81. Brands like Sportsman, Edgewater, Everglades, Key West, and Sea Hunt build entirely without wood. Boston Whaler eliminated wood transoms around 2006. But those brands charge 15 to 30% more, and in a market where most buyers compare sticker prices, the cheaper boat with the plywood transom wins the sale. And when that plywood rots out in year 8 or 10, the repair runs $2,500 to $8,000 for the transom alone. If the stringers went too, add another $3,000 to $10,000. That's the math the dealership doesn't write on the window. Now let's talk about something you can't see without a mil gauge. Gelcoat. The outer coating on your hull is supposed to be 18 mils thick. That's industry standard. Budget boats spray 15 or less. I've seen 12 in spots on production boats where quality control wasn't looking. Here's what kills me about this. The cost difference between spraying 15 mils and 22 mils on a 22-foot center console is $50 to $150. That's the cost of a decent pair of fishing pliers. But thin gel coat oxidizes faster, spider cracks sooner, and gives you less material to compound back to a shine. In Florida sun, cheap gel coat starts fading visibly within 3 years. The good stuff lasts 15 to 20. Behind the Gelcoat, the hull layup matters even more. A hand-laid fiberglass hull has roughly 3 times the impact strength of one sprayed with a chopper gun. The chopper gun is faster and cheaper. It shoots catalyzed resin while chopping glass strands into random 1-inch pieces. Fast, inconsistent, and it builds thickness without building strength. Scout Boats hand-lays every single part. That's becoming rare at any price. But I haven't even gotten to the part that makes me want to flip a table, and this is something you can check yourself in about 30 seconds. The hardware on your boat: cleats, rod holders, hinges, thru-hulls. Every piece represents a decision between 316 marine-grade stainless and 304 budget stainless. The difference is a mineral called molybdenum. 316 has 2 to 3% of it, which makes it resist saltwater corrosion for decades. 304 has 0. In salt spray testing, 304 starts pitting and rusting within 1 to 3 seasons. A 316 stainless dock cleat costs $18 to $25. The 304 version costs $12 to $18. Save $7 a cleat across 30 hardware items, and the manufacturer pockets $100 to $400. You get rust stains weeping down your gunnel by year 2. And here's a fun trick. Grab a magnet. 304 stainless is slightly magnetic. 316 is not. Carbon steel or plated steel sticks hard. Marine surveyors find plated steel screws holding down deck hardware on production boats all the time. Go run a magnet across your cleats this weekend. You might not like what you find. Below the waterline, it gets scarier. Bronze thru-hull fittings with proper seacocks cost $40 to $80 each. Generic nylon costs $5 to $15. Your center console has 4 to 8 of these penetrations, and nylon becomes brittle from UV exposure and can shear off where the body meets the flange. A 30-year marine industry veteran from Practical Sailor confirmed nylon thru-hulls have been involved in actual sinkings. The manufacturer saves $150 to $500. You get a hole in your boat. Now the wiring. This one is personal for me because I've traced so many electrical gremlins back to the same cause. The boating industry's dirty secret is that ABYC recommends tinned copper wire but does not mandate it. Neither does the Coast Guard. That loophole lets manufacturers run bare copper throughout the entire harness. Tin marine wire costs roughly double. On a 22 to 26 foot center console with 500 to 1500 feet of wire, switching to bare copper saves $100 to $750. Mercury and McCruiser harnesses have been documented by mechanics using untinned copper. Some manufacturers even dip tin just the cut end of bare wire before crimping a terminal, so it looks tinned when it's actually bare underneath. That one honestly made my jaw drop when I first heard about it. Bare copper starts corroding immediately at exposed ends in salt air. The corrosion wicks under the insulation along the entire conductor. Testing shows tinned copper lasts up to 10 times longer. The corroded bare wire develops a black coating, gets brittle, and breaks inside the cable where you can't see it. Increased resistance causes voltage drops, intermittent failures, and heat that can start a fire. If you're finding this useful, subscribe. I break down what's actually inside boats and engines every week, and nobody's paying me to be nice about it. Now, I want to give outboard engines a fair shake here because they get blamed for a lot of things that aren't their fault. There is no credible evidence of planned obsolescence in modern outboards. Water pump impellers, sacrificial anodes, lower unit seals. These are wear items that exist because saltwater destroys everything. A $24 impeller that doesn't get replaced on schedule leads to a $3,000 to $10,000 overheating catastrophe. That's not planned obsolescence. That's physics. But where the outboard manufacturers do have you by the wallet is diagnostic software. Mercury Marine's G3 system uses proprietary protocols that generic scan tools cannot read. Independent mechanics need a Rinda TechMate Pro or Jaltest Marine system costing $3,000 to $5,000 with annual subscription updates. Electronic throttle and shift calibration requires dealer-level tools. The diagnostic tool companies themselves admit that manufacturers have historically been the only repair option, and they've taken advantage of that, so the engine isn't designed to die. But the service ecosystem is designed to make sure you pay dealer rates when something goes wrong. There's one more thing hiding inside your hull that nobody talks about until it's too late. Flotation foam. Every boat under 20 feet is required by Coast Guard regulation to carry level flotation. Most builders use 2-part polyurethane pour foam that expands to fill hull cavities. When it's new, it barely absorbs any water. The problem is what happens over the next decade. Despite being sold as closed cell, pour foam breaks down over time. Water gets in through screw holes, drain plugs, any tiny crack. The foam traps that water and holds it. It cannot drain. It cannot evaporate from a sealed compartment. Then capillary action wicks that moisture into every piece of wood the foam is touching. I've pulled foam out of boats that weighed 4 to 5 times what it should. One restoration I saw documented stringers at over 160 pounds per panel because waterlogged foam had been feeding rot into the wood for years, and once that foam is wet, it will never dry. You don't repair waterlogged foam. You rip it all out and start over. And that brings us to the part of this story that I think deserves its own video, honestly, the warranty. Because once you actually read the fine print, you realize the warranty is built to protect the manufacturer, not you. Hardware warranty? 1 year. On a boat that lives in saltwater. Gelcoat cracking, crazing, and fading? Excluded from day one at virtually every manufacturer. One major brand voids hull Gelcoat blister coverage if the boat sits in water more than 14 days in any 30-day period. On a boat, that goes in water. I actually laughed out loud when I read that one. Here's the kicker. Consequential damages are universally excluded. If a defective thru-hull fails and your boat sinks, the warranty covers the $5 fitting. Not the $50,000 boat sitting on the bottom. Every single manufacturer has this language buried in the paperwork. And lifetime structural hull warranty means lifetime of your ownership, not the boat's life. Transfer requires inspections, fees, and 30-day paperwork windows. Miss the window, lose the warranty. One industry insider put it bluntly, beware of lifetime warranties. You don't find fine automobiles with lifetime warranties. There's usually fine print that makes them worth less than they appear. So are boats built to fail in 5 years? No. They're built to a price point where failure becomes your problem right after the warranty expires. The manufacturer saves $500 to $2,000. You eat a $6,000 transom repair in year 8. And the warranty paperwork was designed from the start to make sure they don't have to pay for it. Here's what you do about it. Whether you're buying new or used, these 4 checks take less than 20 minutes. Tap the transom with a rubber mallet and listen for dull thuds versus sharp taps. Dull means moisture. Pull an accessible wire behind the console and look for tin coating on the copper. Check every thru-hull below the waterline with a wrench and make sure they're not brittle nylon. And for anything over $10,000, pay a marine surveyor $17 to $22 per foot to do a full inspection. That's the cheapest insurance in boating. The manufacturer saved $449 by putting plywood in your transom. Don't let that decision cost you $7,000. I'll see you in the next one.